Hey folks, welcome. Today we're going to be playing some Star Trek Resurgence. It's just released on Epic, and I think it's available on PlayStation 4 and on Xbox as well. So jump in and join me if you're interested. For now, let's get into the game and see what it's about. I haven't even looked at any reviews yet. Okay, empty slot. Begin. Dramatic labs adventure. The relationships and events you're about to experience will be shaped by the choices you make. Oh, this is like the new Tron thing. Ugh. Hope it's enjoyable.
Captain's log, stardate 57931.4. The crew is restless. After spending too many months piecing our ship back together, we're finally about to venture out on a new mission. And the crew isn't letting this unprecedented ion storm slow them down. They're ready for something different. I know I am. Perhaps more than any of them. Fortunately, nothing ever stays the same. It's entropy, the nature of the universe. Change is inevitable. And while entropy says order gives way to chaos, in this case, change is good.
Now I've got any music.
Our new first officer is en route to the Resolute. Jara Rydek. I know she'll bring a welcome dose of new blood to the crew.
Thanks.
No problem.
As for controls,
I'm not great with flying. But these little shuttles are the worst.
Here's a tip. Don't close your eyes. You'd think that would make it easier, but it only makes it worse. Look out the window, pick a star, and just focus on that.
I'll give it a try.
yeah, the controls are by
Sorry,
default
I'm a little
set
anxious.
for
I
a
hadn't noticed.
controller.
I'm on
You
my
have
way to
to
my first
change it
assignment.
to keyboard mouse.
When we get to the starbase, I'm transferring on to the Resolute.
So am I.
It won't
Now,
be
it looks
easy
like it
for
forgets
Jara
the
to
settings
step in
every
at the
time.
11th hour like this. But if she's half the officer I knew she could become when she was a cadet at Starfleet Academy, she'll be the XO this ship needs right now.
The environments look great, but the objects look like toys. The graphics quality is not great. Only 1080p offered. 1080p or lower. I think it does 16 by 10 as well. Like 1960 by 1200 or something. Yes, I'm trying.
A starbase on the very edge of Federation space. Long way from home now.
You don't use a shuttle to get all the way to the starbase.
Commander? I'm not
You can
usually
let
such a nervous wreck, by the way. I actually did well at the academy.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe you've heard of the Torvalin test?
Sounds familiar.
It's a tactical simulator that makes the Kobayashi Maru look like a picnic on Pintaris 5. Anyway, I finished in the top 20. Not just in my class. I mean, all time. In the history of the academy.
Simulations are great for training, but they're not quite the same as the real thing.
That's fair. I guess I'm about to find out.
Too smart, mate.
Please place your hand here. Hold it there for a few seconds.
Okay, I'm trying. Thank you.
Welcome, Commander Rydek.
Wait, you're Jara Rydek? You absolutely crushed the Torvalin test. You finished in what, like the top 3?
That would be me.
Now I'm really... It's an honor to meet you, Commander. Sorry, I didn't realize before. I just came off the shuttle and was glad to be on solid ground.
When people say top 3, what they really mean is 3rd place. I'm not first, so there's always room for improvement.
I'll, keep working then.
I believe Commander Ermot is expecting you. He's in the concourse just ahead.
See you on the Resolute.
They're supposed to be empathic, if I remember correctly. The race. But,
Good day, Commander.
damn, this controls janky. What was that? Camera angle.
If I
Look.
remember my briefing, Commander Ermot is a bully, so I'm looking for someone with blue skin. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm just... Well, I'm not sure where my departure dock is. The Resolute's gonna leave without me.
Look here. The Resolute is leaving from this dock.
Ah, you're right. Nerves must be getting to me. Thanks so much, Commander.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a blue-skinned character now. Examine.
Starbase 128 has 4 docks. I'll replicate myself a meal once I'm on board.
Oh, is that the man I'm supposed to see?
Excuse me.
Again, a janky animation there.
Welcome to the edge of the galaxy, Commander Rydek. I'm Commander Jan Ermot, Operations Officer on the Resolute. Commander? I hope there wasn't too much trouble getting here. This storm isn't making anything easy for us right now.
It was a bit bumpy, but otherwise okay.
My apologies. This storm is unlike anything I've seen before. We're grateful you were able to come fill our first officer vacancy at such short notice. From everything I've read and everything I've heard, we're lucky you were available to us.
That sounds that way.
Coming from a premier starship and all. To our little research vessel.
I'll do my best to live up to expectations.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do just fine. And if I can help in any way, just let me know.
There she is. 8317 Resolute.
The
Interesting
USS
configuration.
Resolute. She may not look like much compared to the bigger ships, but as far as science vessels go, she can more than hold her own. And she doesn't look so bad considering 6 months ago she was nearly cracked in half, venting plasma, fighting for her life.
It was an accident?
Equipment malfunction. An accident suggests fault, but no one's to blame. It was a planned test, but the warp core was pushed beyond its limits. It destabilized the dilithium, there was a runaway reaction, and the warp bubble deformed. We thought we could reach a higher resonant frequency, but it was more than she could handle. Cost us our first officer and 22 of our crew. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for each other.
I can't even begin to imagine what that must have been like for you. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It does weigh heavy. There are some things you can't forget.
It's been 6 months. What's the attitude among the crew now?
Unsettled. But I hope that a new mission will help them move forward. If not, move on. Listen. I realize you've known Captain Solano for quite some time. And I'm glad you're ready to bring your best. But I should warn you that when the captain announced you would be the new first officer, there were those who felt it was a mistake, that he should have promoted from within. So you might want to tread lightly at first. Until they come to value your contributions as much as he does.
Thank you. Always good to have a sense for what you're walking into.
I just thought you ought to know.
I appreciate it.
Starfleet has assigned us a high-priority mission to the Hotari region.
Explore the impact. Jar made a strong first impression of Commander Umart, coming off as humble and appreciative while showing empathy for the crew that Resolute suffered. Ensign Calloway was grateful for Jar's helpful guidance when he was nervous on the shuttle flight. But nothing about that last encounter. This is where you set the controls. You have to change it to keyboard. If you aren't
I'll let the
playing with the
captain brief you
controller.
on board. I know he's eager to see you.
Will we be mission ready in time?
We have every intention. The crew has been working around the clock to get the ship ready. There's still so much to do.
So you don't just play as her. And corrosion.
Stuck. I got just the thing.
Okay. How's this work? I don't explain. Oh, you have to pull it back into the center. It floats automatically. I can see lots and lots of quick time events happening. I'm not a big fan.
And that...
What?
is that.
What the hell was the arrow points? Damn, this game's janky.
I thought that thing was totally fried. Nice work, Carter.
Nothing to it, Neely.
And not a moment too soon. The boss wants us down in engineering. Like, now.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we're going to engineering. It's let's look at stuff.
Come on!
Oh, these are heavier than they look. Makes more sense than 0G. You're welcome.
And you have to do under them.
So clean I can see myself. Then you know what? Not half bad.
Carter Diaz!
Let's go, Carter. Come on, it's a lot. Let's go. What seems to be the problem here?
Junction 34B gives you
Hey,
access to
you need any help?
cargo storage all the way to the turbo.
Okay. Good luck.
Bulkhead cuts it off in sections.
Come on, run. No, he doesn't want to run.
Engineering.
I heard the new XO just arrived. Won't be long before we get underway. I just hope whatever Chovak called us down for, it's something good. I can never tell with him. I'd rather not end up degaussing plasma manifolds. Hanging upside down makes me queasy.
You and me working together, we can tackle anything he throws at us.
Your optimism is positively
Another
contagious.
blocked pathway. Looks like that's going to be a common theme to prevent entry.
Looks like we got here before.
Lieutenant Commander Chovak.
We were just looking for you, Commander.
Petty Officers Ed Salar, Diaz. I was beginning to think you would be late. We are all hands on deck right now, which means if you are not at your post at the appointed time, I do not have someone to replace you. A point I have been forced to make to Petty Officer Edzelar on repeated
It's
occasions.
very nice.
Apologies for the delay, Commander.
I do not want your apologies. Simply see to it that it does not happen again.
So, I don't suppose you wanted us down here to check in before we go off duty?
Equip yourselves in EV suits to work on the exterior of the hull. I need you to tune the structural integrity field for optimal performance. The subspace distortions and ionic interference we are experiencing are preventing the proper calibration. But this ship must be ready to depart shortly, despite the storm. The
Something's
precise
going
nature
wrong.
of these disturbances are not fully understood.
Whatever it throws at us, we'll be ready. We've got the best chief engineer in the fleet.
I am a Vulcan, Mr. Diaz. Flattery is not necessary. All that I require is that you do your job. Right now, that entails critical preparations, because long-range sensors show that these disturbances will be more severe at our destination, the Hotari system.
Lovely.
You have your orders. Do not delay.
Yes,
Roger
Commander
that.
Chovak. All hands on deck.
What's that?
All hands on deck. That's what Chovak said. You know what that means? It means this ship isn't ready to go out and the brass know it. So they're throwing every warm body at it. And they're going to leave on schedule.
It all comes down to us, Nilly. We're the ones who will get it ready.
I know what we can do. But this isn't just
Oh,
any old
jeez, this
refit
idiot
or any
again.
old relaunch.
Whoa.
Excuse me.
A lot of new faces coming on board. It's gotta be tough coming as a replacement. That's for sure.
They seem all right. Something that happened 6 months ago while they were off on another ship? Well, that's nothing to hold against them.
Yeah, you're right. I guess getting a little new blood on board doesn't hurt. Hold on. Now there's an old face I didn't expect to see again. Hey, Miranda!
You weren't gonna leave without me, were you?
Miranda, you're here?
We thought you were staying on the Adirondack.
Transfer came in at the last minute, so I figured I'd slum it on this bucket of bolts. Looks like you got her back together pretty nicely. I wasn't sure what to expect.
I'm gonna take the high road here, pretend you didn't say that, and welcome you aboard.
He's a better diplomat than I am.
He still owes me a bottle of Saurian brandy. Don't think I forgot.
Oh yeah, it's coming back to me now.
Maybe Carter can rustle up that bottle and we can give you a proper welcome. As soon as we wrap up this quick little spacewalk.
Okay, so let me put on the helmet.
Here, let me help you.
Thanks.
So what's the word? Are you back in the security rotation?
Yep. Still running with the usual suspects.
Whoa.
Good to go.
You took your time clipping that in place.
See you on the other side.
Damn, relying on force field. In a janky
Activating
ship.
magnetic souls.
Hey look, we're gonna recreate the Fantastic Four. At least I'm trying to walk. If you'd let me, can't do anything except walk forward.
That view never gets old.
Let's go.
Walking around the edge of the disc. I think they've come up closer to the nacelles, where the field is actually generated. Yeah, now we're going into someone else again. Is this the commander?
Captain Solano should be here momentarily.
And all I can do is stand there and do nothing.
You'll have to forgive me, I don't know much about Kobleods. But my understanding is you need a steady supply of duridium to keep your cell structure stabilized, or bad
Not
things
the
start
race,
to
I
happen.
believe they were.
And we have plenty of duridium in sickbay, so there's no risk of running out.
Thank you.
Feel free to make yourself at home. And help yourself to whatever you like from the replicator.
She get to do anything now? Or is this all cutscene garbage? Cutscene. I dislike games like this.
He's still got a thing for trains.
Nice looking
The
model.
warp engines of their day, apparently.
Nothing else of interest on that shelf, apparently. Diploma. What the hell was that?
I can't believe he keeps this around. Don't even know where mine is. The first mineral Captain Solano ever discovered. Always was the nostalgic type.
It looks very much like a... Okay, now that's actually interesting. And we can't inspect it.
Can't wait to plot a course myself.
Library Computer Access and Retrieval System. USS Resolute NCC 92317. Why does that not seem to line up with what I remember from seeing in the hull? Okay. Is that it? replicator.
Just a sip of something.
Let's go with
Ractigino.
something interesting. Why was the replicator lighting past the
That
front
sure has a kick.
of the unit?
Jara Rydek. Last time I saw you, it was graduation from the Academy. You'd already secured one of the most prestigious assignments possible. And you were burning with enough ambition to fuel 7 trips around the Necrid Expanse.
It's good to see you again, Captain.
Well, I could not be happier to have you on the Resolute. My only regret is that we couldn't provide you with a warmer welcome. The arrival of a first officer to her new ship deserves a bit of fanfare.
That would be totally unnecessary. I don't need any pomp and circumstance.
You've been here all of 5 minutes, and already you're trying to make us more efficient. I like it. As I'm sure you've heard, we've had a rough go of it these last 6 months. The ship suffered some damage, but not nearly as much as the crew.
I heard that you had an equipment malfunction.
Is that what they're calling it? No, that's just someone being generous. If anything, it was a leadership malfunction. We were on the verge of a major scientific breakthrough. A quantum leap forward in warp core technology. 10,000 teradynes per second. The ability to travel at a sustained rate of speed longer and faster than we ever dreamed. What would have been the crowning achievement of my career. Right there. Within our grasp. Until it all went so horribly wrong. We pushed her too hard, and a warp core malfunction overloaded the system, creating a pressure gradient way beyond what the ship can handle. It was heartbreaking. We lost some of our best people. As captain, I have to take full responsibility. It was my decision to make, and I have to live with the consequences.
Come on, that one.
You're being too hard on yourself. It wasn't your fault.
It's not a question of blame. It's about responsibility. No matter what the circumstances. In my defense, I will say, I might have avoided the whole ordeal if my senior staff had been willing to trust me. There was a lot of pushback from my former XO, and I think that cost me his confidence. I don't want you to pull any punches. Certainly not on my account. But once we decide on a course of action, I need everyone to fully commit to the mission. Anything short of that just won't work. And that's when things start to go sideways.
Whether I agree or disagree, I can promise that I'll be honest to a fault.
Good. That's exactly what I'm looking for. But at the end of the day, it has to be my call. Look, I'll be blunt. We can't afford another mistake. Or at least, I can't. I feel like my career is hanging in the balance here. We need a win. Something to
So you
restore
spent
the
that
crew's
US
confidence.
I understand.
On a more positive note, Starfleet has tasked us with what they're calling a mission of the highest priority. Escorting a senior diplomat to Hotari space. 2 previously peaceful and otherwise non-aggressive civilizations now find themselves on the brink of all-out war.
So it's a peacekeeping mission.
I see it as a golden opportunity to not only prove what the Resolute and her crew are truly capable of, but also a mission for which we're uniquely qualified.
Except you're a
This
science ship.
ionic storm. Our long-range sensors suggest it's several orders of magnitude stronger than anything on record. A total anomaly like nothing we've seen before. And you'll never guess where it leads.
Hatari.
Exactly. Very nearly in the precise location where we're headed. Where I imagine the interference will be exponentially greater.
So basically, we're being sent into the eye of a storm, more powerful than anything on record.
Well, yes. But we're taking every precaution. but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I expect we'll have some rough sledding when we arrive, so I need you to prepare the crew for the worst. There's just one more thing I want to clarify up front. The metric that for me will be the ultimate measure of your success.
What is it?
If after serving as my first officer, you don't one day find yourself with a ship of your own, then I will consider it my personal failure. When that might happen is entirely up to you. But it goes without saying, you have my full support.
It's been a dream of mine since before I can remember. So I would be honored to become a captain someday.
As long as you're willing to do the work, you have my promise. I'll do everything in my power to see that it happens.
Thank you.
Come, let me introduce you to the crew.
Well, let's see what he thinks. Was reassured by modesty and leash potential after their first meeting. That's always a good sign. Ooh, janky graphics again. I should really watch the reviews before making this purchase.
Everyone, if I could have your attention for a moment. I'd like to introduce Commander Jara Rydek, our new first officer. Some quick introductions. This is Lieutenant Handar, our helmsman, one of the best in the business.
And
One of?
on helms.
Well, what he lacks in humility, he more than makes up for in ability.
A pleasure to meet you, Commander.
Likewise.
Next, we have Commander Westbrook, our Chief Science Officer. I've come to rely on his
Not a
expert
Vulcan.
counsel on a regular basis.
Pleasure.
Interesting eyebrows.
Commander Rydek, it is such an honor to meet you.
This is our tactical officer, Lieutenant Bedrosian, who's been looking forward to meeting you for about as long as I can remember.
I've been following your career for quite some time. And I look forward to learning as much as I can from you.
If anything, the honor is mine.
Well, I have to admit, one of the reasons I've followed your career is because you're part Kobliad, because of what you've overcome. Starfleet stands up for people who can't defend themselves. And you were one of those people once. But since then, you've done so much to protect others who need it. I really admire that. So, you've been something of an inspiration to me. Not that I've done anything close to what you've done.
That's very kind of you to say, but enough about me. We have a lot of work to do.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. That doesn't sound
And
like
then,
I
of
was
course,
quite
you've already
right.
met Commander Ermont. Please, do everything you can to make Commander Rydek feel at home here. I'll be on the starbase. I have an urgent meeting with the starbase commander to get our
I think
authorization to
there's
get underway.
Someone
If
they
they drag your
missed.
feet any longer, we won't make our rendezvous. The bridge is yours.
Number 1. I wasn't introduced to this person. And I can't talk with her.
The helm. The Resolute is a refitted Centaur class, meaning it's capable of quick maneuvers. Can't wait to see what she can do. Operations. Staffing, supplies. There's a lot to keep track of on a starship. Good thing we have Commander Ermont.
Why would you do that from the command deck?
Science station. The Resolute is a science vessel, primarily. Might explain Commander Westbrook's attitude. I'll have to speak with him later. Tactical station. Hopefully a diplomatic mission won't require we use our weapons much. But if it comes to that, we'll be ready.
She's pushing on things.
So
They
many
don't seem to
decks.
do anything.
Full of crew that are now my responsibility.
There's something else we didn't get to meet. Comms?
Communications. Keeps us in contact internally and with other vessels.
Anything else to see before I take the seat? Guess not.
Tactical holodias. Just like they've got on the Excelsior.
Okay, let's take the seat.
Commander, Chief
Not
Engineer
very
Chovak
comfortable
needs to
in the
lower
seat.
the structural integrity field. He's sent a crew out to recalibrate the emitters in response to the danger posed by the storm.
That camera move.
We just need your go-ahead.
Permission granted.
Lowering structural integrity field, now.
Entering maintenance mode. Condition blue.
Blue for maintenance, I imagine. Oh,
The storm is
lovely.
getting worse.
Looks like they turned off the SIF.
Great. Let's get to that emitter.
Oh, this is painful.
Every time we're out here, I half expect to see her in pieces again.
She's still got some scars on her. It adds character.
When I joined Starfleet, all I wanted was a ride out of town. But this isn't exactly how I pictured it.
On the outside of the ship?
No. Sometimes it feels like we're just part of the machinery. Don't you want more than that? I mean, Starfleet is noble and all, but it's still a machine.
Yeah, of course I do. Starfleet's an open door. We just have to walk through it. You wanted to get away. I enlisted because I didn't want to wait years just to get out and see the galaxy. I wanted to go somewhere. See new worlds. Look up at a sky no one's ever seen before. Just because I'm cranking a hyperspanner up in a Jeffries tube today doesn't mean that's all I'll ever be. Diaz to Commander Chovak. We are at the SIF emitter.
Acknowledged. You may proceed with the recalibration.
Case. Now I suppose I have to guess at equipment. Nope. Calibration tool. Marked up nicely.
Beginning recalibration.
What the hell?
Careful. Too much action and harmonics will deflect the alignment.
Looks good. That wasn't so hard.
If only this game was built with mass.
Commander Westbrook, right? Chief Science Officer.
You remembered my name and my rank. Impressive.
Ooh, this guy's an ass.
Yes, I am the Chief Science Officer, and I have the dubious honor of being the most senior officer on this bridge. I know this ship inside and
You
out.
want to be.
Better than just about anyone.
What a very impressive list of credentials.
This is a research and discovery ship, first and foremost. Now with a former tactical officer as its new first officer. I'm curious, though. A Kobliad, or half in your case, is an odd choice for first officer, given your
What,
vulnerable
so?
condition and all.
Oh my
But
god,
if,
he's a
as an
racist.
example, we found ourselves in a hostile situation, and you were suddenly incapacitated because you needed an infusion, what would happen then? You'd leave Captain Solano without an XO. Granted, that would be a worst-case scenario.
That's very kind of you to be concerned about my well-being. But you don't need to trouble yourself on my account. I'll be fine.
Well, I wouldn't say I was concerned. Just curious, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Racist ass.
Listen, can I be blunt, Commander?
I see no reason to stop now.
Commander Sutherland, your predecessor, was one of the best first officers in all of Starfleet. His record was impeccable and his reputation was without equal. I mean no disrespect, but the shoes you're stepping into are almost impossible to fill.
Someone that
He was loved by the crew. And he was one of my closest friends.
I don't think I could ever replace Commander Sutherland. And it would be a mistake to even try.
Seeing as Captain Solano is on the starbase, let me give you an update on this ion storm we're flying into. It's unusual, unlike anything I've ever seen. At the moment, I can't tell you if the Resolute will shrug it off or if we're putting ourselves at risk. However, if we learn more about its patterns, its nature, we can come up with a scientific countermeasure. Just a moment.
Exactly. Shields up.
We've got a massive energy wave inbound.
On screen.
Turn on the field. Turn it on.
Tracing its trajectory.
Starbase docking clamps are holding.
The storm's emissions are fluctuating, coming in waves. And if my projections are right, we're about to get hit by a wideband burst of ionic energy. Like a tsunami.
I'm reading power abnormal.
Red alert!
Aye. Evacuating main gangway and retracting.
Putting sensor visualization on screen.
With the structural integrity field shut down, we can't take a direct hit.
Time to impact. 1 minute.
Shield systems are severely impacted. We have limited protection.
I need every available solution. What are our options?
We can weaken the impact of the storm with a deflector pulse.
There's a better way.
I'm sending all auxiliary power to the deflector dish.
Send the aux power to the shields. We can't reactivate the entire shield bubble, but it's a directional thread. So we can orient all we have towards the wave.
Tactical.
You have to believe me.
I'm
We
going
only get
tactical.
one shot at this. We can't afford to get it wrong.
Petrosian, get those shields up.
Rerouting power to shields. Stand by. I need a heading. We've only got one shot.
Understood. On my command.
Heading locked.
Raise shields.
That science officer is way too much of an ass.
All hands, brace for impact.
I thought they withdrew the umbilical. No, we're told to brace.
What happened?
We have experienced a surge of radiation.
Oh, you don't say.
This radiation supercharged the plasma, forcing it to backflush through the system and creating a dangerous imbalance.
Blow out every primary system on the ship.
Just tell us where you need us.
I need you to traverse the hull to the access port to recalibrate the port nacelle plasma regulator.
Well, now I'm going to the cells. That took forever.
We've reached the first access point.
Understood. Do you see the override for the level 1 failsafe circuits?
Affirmative.
Engage the override. It should allow us to stop the EPS flow to the warp engine without triggering an automatic core shutdown.
Failsafe override engaged.
Are you sure? I am registering some crosstalk in the bypass circuit.
We need to route the signals so they don't interfere with each other.
Oh jeez, puzzles.
Diaz to Resolute. The failsafes are temporarily disabled. Moving on to the EPS regulator.
Heads up, Carter.
What is that?
One of the discharges coalesced.
It's coming right toward us. I'm gonna try to disrupt it with my phaser.
1. Equip. Aim. Fire. Start.
So we gotta climb up the pylon. Not that there's really an up, but... you know.
Okay, so let's go. Come on.
Are you alright?
Yeah. So took
Except
most
these
of it.
things come from behind you.
Snuck up on it.
That damaged your suit. Energy damping is down to 60%.
Okay, boss. Bunny target things directly ahead of me.
We're at the regulator. Opening the access panel.
I am now halting the EPS flow to the port nacelle. We have little time before it causes an overload in the engine. You must work efficiently.
So let me do what I'm supposed to do. Damn it.
EPS manifold adjusters reset to neutral.
Okay, now what do you want me to do?
The EPS lines to the port warp engine are back in balance.
That didn't make any
Almost
sense.
done. Once I cycle the manifold nozzles, Chobot can...
Those should have been disengaged already. Damn.
Get down! Diaz to bridge. We just lost the docking clamp. We've got a lot of debris coming down. Hull vibrations, too. We can't finish the EPS regulation in these conditions. Please advise.
We have to release the ship from that other docking clamp or the hull will be ripped apart.
There's a problem. The clamps are supposed to disengage automatically in an emergency, but it's not working.
Not working.
What are our options?
The docking clamps are fitted with exploded bolts for an emergency release.
We've got crew out there. That'd be like setting off a bomb next to them.
Maybe there's another way.
Starbase is hailing us.
Put him through.
Resolute, the remaining mooring arm is failing. You need to disengage from the starbase now. The damage to the station will be catastrophic.
The docking clamp isn't functioning. We're exploring our
The
options.
option is to detonate the emergency release.
Commander, hear me out. Reverse the polarity of the hull, which theoretically will repel the docking clamps.
And repel the engineering crew right off the hull into the storm.
This is Captain Solano. Put me on screen.
Go ahead. Captain, we have a situation.
Commander, what are you doing? Blow the bolts on the docking clamp.
The captain doesn't know the whole story.
I'm giving you an order.
All due respect, sir, it's a more complex situation than when you
Yara,
disembarked.
I need you to do the right thing. We can't have this go sideways before we even leave for the mission.
The captain made himself quite clear.
They're gonna get hammered with debris out there. Reverse the polarity.
Reversal
There
polarity.
is protocol.
And there are lives.
Starbase, stand by. We're gonna flip hull polarity to disengage the clamps.
Yes, Commander.
Repair crew, this is Acting Captain Jara Rydek. Be advised, we are going to reverse hull polarity to free us from the remaining docking clamp. Tether yourself and deactivate your boots on my mark.
Understood.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark!
Grab my hand!
Damn,
I
that was
got
close.
Thank you.
Plasma imbalance is reaching critical
Oh my
condition.
God.
We are moments from primary system failure.
I got it.
Come on! What the hell? W plus W.
Look out!
I got you. Petty Officer Edselar's hurt and unconscious. I'm gonna have to tow her back to the airlock.
Mr. Diaz, the situation has changed. You are at risk of triggering a substantial electromagnetic arc if you approach the main hull the way you came.
But Commander, the way we came is the nearest airlock.
There is an auxiliary hatch near you on the far end of the pylon. You must bring Miss Edselar there to access the interior.
Roger that.
Go.
Going there.
This is gonna be fun. Where'd that rubbish come from?
I'm at the auxiliary hatch.
What happened to the tether? Come on. What's
You
that
go
supposed to do?
What?
Let me save your neck this time.
You did already.
No time to fight me on this.
You better be right behind me.
Move, woman. There we go. Oh, jeez. Push it sideways. Damn. Lost one already.
We're in.
They're safe. Bringing the SIF fully online.
Do it.
Sif.
Carter!
I'm okay. I'm okay. But Edselar...
Here, let me help you.
Damn, that does not look good. Get it off her! burns.
Medical. We've got one wounded at my location. Millie.
Oh, man.
We'll see you at sickbay.
Status report.
The repair crew made it inside. EPS flow is back to nominal levels. The SIF is back up.
How does this affect mission readiness, Mr. Ermat?
Releasing the docking clamps using hull polarity minimized damage to the Resolute. We'll have some last-minute repairs to make, but if we reapportion some of the staff, we can make our departure on time. As of now, however, we are successfully moored to the station.
Good to hear.
Wow.
Send updates to my ready room. Commander Rydek, with me.
Yep, disobeying a direct order, which couldn't endanger crew.
You disobeyed my orders.
He was captain.
Well?
Respectfully, Captain, I made the right choice given the information
You
I had.
disobeyed my orders! And not just in front of the bridge crew, but the Starbase staff as well. That's going to get around. My name's already tarnished around the fleet.
Yeah, well, you're a piece
What
of
is
shit.
it going to do to my credibility on this ship? From the top to the bottom. Bridge to lower decks.
Captain, I told you I'd be honest, so here it is. Maybe I shouldn't have disobeyed a direct order, but you were wrong. You weren't on board, and you didn't have all the information. So I made the right decision for the ship. If you're worried about your credibility, put your ego aside and trust your crew. Trust me.
You might have won some fans on the bridge with that stunt, but not everyone. Lieutenant Commander Chovak has already bent my ear.
I'm sure he doesn't take it personally. He'll get over it in time.
Mr. Chovak is more complicated than he would want to admit. I guess we all are. And, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what I would have done in the moment either. You never really know if you weren't in those shoes. So, let's just boil it down to, you did what you had to.
Thank you for understanding, sir. I'm sure no one knows the burden of command as well as you do.
I'm sure you will, someday. Despite it all, we got our final Starfleet clearance to depart. So if you'll fetch Mr. Ermat, we'll knock out the final details of any outstanding repairs, and then we'll set out for Hotari.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's where I'm gonna end the game for today. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you're interested in watching more of this, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. I'm interested in seeing more of the story, but I am not a fan of this type of game. Just QTEs and yeah, minimal control. So let me know. Leave a comment. And don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that bell button so YouTube will let you know when the next video drops. And until then, take care out there.